besties. Hey girlies. What's up? So we're going to review Insecure season 5. I'm not gonna do like a blah 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 recap because I don't be knowing. I'm not that kind of girl, but I do have feelings, and I feel like everybody has feelings, and I want to create a safe space for us to chat. So season 5, and this is the finale season. First and foremost, I first want to start off positive. There will be some negative, but I don't want it to be all be negative. Overall, I want to say that Issa Rae is everything. She's a black creative, and she puts so many people to work. So for that and that alone, she is the one. Like, she's the queen. Like, the fact that you, even during the pandemic, were able to put people to work. The fact that she was able to create characters that we all love and embrace, and we're invested in their character arcs and seeing where these storylines go. As a fan of the show, I wasn't like one of those hardcore fans, only because, again, when we see the 4 women black girl thing, I sometimes connect, sometimes don't. I didn't really see myself in the beginning in any of these characters. I didn't see myself in Issa. I didn't see myself in Molly. I didn't see myself in Tiffany. But I'm like, you know, hey, these are black people, black beautiful people on screen, so I'm going to support and I'm going to watch. So for that reason and that reason alone, she gets major props, major kudos. And to be able to secure a deal with HBO and to have it run on her terms and how long she wanted to do, the fact that, you know, everything was on her terms, I think is just so inspiring. The negotiation process, the production process, like the fact, again, there's so much that goes into creating a show that and that alone speaks for itself. In terms of story writing and the story that she told, I will start with the positives. The positive of Insecure for me, one, I think it highlighted to me the essence of what insecurity means. I think many people think that word means like a surface level, like, oh, my thighs are too big, or oh, I have a, you know, weird ear, or something like that. And I think it's more about knowing yourself and accepting yourself, being exposed and being okay with being exposed. And I find that when you have insecurities, or when you are generally insecure, you're doing a lot of propping up this idea of what you want people to see, and that in turn makes you uncomfortable and inauthentic in a way. And I think Issa kind of summed that up really well with this episode, I will say. And you saw insecurity on many levels. You saw her being insecure with her decision making. You saw her being insecure in her relationship and the role that she played in her relationship in the beginning with Lawrence. You saw the insecurities when it comes to sex, and how do I look while I'm having sex, and does he like this, and blah 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 blah. There's insecurity amongst friendships, and if I say this and if I do this, what does it mean for this friend that I've had for 10-15 years? So it dealt with insecurity, I think, in a great way on screen, especially amongst black folk. Melina, I think, is just a great director. She has a very specific aesthetic. It is that to me, it looks like the filter, the 8mm camera, like the rolling camera, where, and it's a little bit vintage, but it's a little bit current. I think the colors are beautiful. The shots, the angles capture the insecurity in some moments and the awkwardness, and you'll see like Issa in the center and then blur everything out, and they'll kind of change the subject. I think she's a great director. Anything she touches is going to look dope. So the women are beautiful, the men are beautiful. Like, this was generally a positive, beautiful black show. I think as black folks growing up with, you know, the Cosby Show, growing up with A Different World, the Martins, like, Family Matters, I mean, in my mind, they have been syndicated, so they've been on forever. And there's a piece of us that expects, oh, when we get that new Cosby Show, we're gonna grow with these characters for years and years and years and years. And Issa were like, I ain't trying to tie myself to this. I understand that. But I can honestly say, generally speaking, I wasn't happy this season. I didn't like it overall. For me, the biggest issue with this season is the pacing. I find they kind of Game of Thrones does. They kind of Game of Thrones does. And I'm like, you capture us with this, like, you take your time, like season 1, like imagine Game of Thrones, like season 1, like they took their time, they fleshed out every character, you knew exactly what was going on because there was so much going on, and it literally, we followed maybe one character arc. It took all 10 episodes for them to walk from like up the street to down the street. You get what I'm saying? The whole season was just that moment, exploring a moment of walking from here to here. And then we get to season 10 and you have characters going from here to here in the same episode. So when it's that type of pacing issue, it's just hard for me to, one, consolidate that this is the same show, and to take in the information, process it, and feel away before moving on to the next one. So, I guess coming out of the last season, which I kind of remember, I kind of don't. Yes, the biggest thing I kind of remember was Issa had got back with Lawrence, and it was cute, it was beautiful, they were dating, and then there was the messy triangle with her and Condola, and then there was the relationship with Molly and the Asian guy, don't know his name, but the entire season was dedicated to a whole development of a relationship, and Molly being Molly and a self-sabotager, and when things start getting good, she's gonna start over-analyzing and being hypercritical of everybody around her, and she kind of ruins her own things. Like, that is the crux of Molly. And then for Issa, you know, she's always struggling, well, did I make the right decision in my job, and in this and in that, and is this right, is this right? And when things again start to fall apart, it's like, well, I knew it was supposed to be that way. That's at least how I take it. And coming into this season, you know, Nathan came back around, which as a character, I want to say he came around the Coachella era. He was okay. I think he's an attractive man. But when we saw Issa with Lawrence, like, there was definitely love there, you know, her dealing with him and being unemployed and trying to get his app off the ground, and the struggle love. Like, we saw struggle love first, and then we saw Daniel, where Daniel was the glamorous, you know, Mr. Big option, where he's the rapper and he's on the scene and he fine as hell and he this, and she was infatuated. Like, we saw her infatuated with him, like wanting to be around him, wanting to jump on him, you know. So when we get to Nathan, I didn't feel the feels with Nathan that I felt with the other guys. It didn't feel good. It felt, and I don't know if I want to say forced. I mean, it feels awkward, and awkward to me isn't a good decision to be like, girl, like, guy, whoever, let's do this. It didn't feel like that. So yeah, and coming into this season, you know, they really tried to put Issa and Nathan together, and it just wasn't fitting, and I felt like we spent a lot of time doing that, and I didn't want to see that. Like, I wanted to know, with the cliffhanger of, you know, hey, I got a baby, and then, you know, she smokes the joint, like, trying to figure out, girl, what is we gonna do with this? And then we didn't see Lawrence for a long time, and I felt like that, if that was where the arc was going to go, I wanted to see more of their interactions or more conversations about what she experienced with that, other than one. And then when it comes to Molly, you know, that she went on a trip with the guy, and I kind of like felt like that was unresolved. And then she comes into this season, and all of a sudden they drop Torian as a love interest, and I'm sorry for me, and I'm sorry to this man, and I don't think it's disrespectful. I thought Torian was gay. So I never even thought he was an option. And I'm like, so now you want me to believe that Molly is into this man? How? Cause of what? He been a lawyer, and she has money, so I don't believe that money was the thing. And maybe it is the emotional security now that I'm thinking through it, you know, her going through the stuff with her mom and her being able to be vulnerable. I would have liked to see more. And I feel like we had 10 episodes to see more of that. And I just didn't get it. I'm again, like, we saw her with Torian twice. 2 dates does not a fiance make. Like, I want to see the proposal. I want to see the dating. I want to see the argument. I want to see how she bounced back from that or dealt with that. I want to see love and infatuation. I want the fantasy. I want the whole fantasy, and they did not give us the fantasy. No, I didn't get it. I didn't get it at all. So even with this season, I will say a positive, which they are able to do really, really, really well, is they're able to give us these awkward, insecure moments between people, which I love, because I think that is very authentic to real life, where you'll have a weird situation and they capture the awkward silence very well, the tension very well, the coming together, the reconciliation of friends. I will say, like, the first episode of this season, which was the homecoming, again, we had a whole episode at that boring homecoming. Like, it was boring. It was boring. A whole episode. And I'm like, what? Like, the whole episode was boring. I don't even remember the second episode. The episode with Nathan, again, and him struggling with this mental health, well, that is great to put on screen, and it's great to, I think he is a graceful actor, and he dealt with that with grace, but I just don't care. Because I don't care about him as a character that much. And I'm not saying I don't care about the issue, but we spent a lot of time there. And I didn't like it. I would have loved to see more interactions with Issa and Condola, because they had so many last season. And it is weird and awkward what happened with them. And even if that was where it was going to end, I would have loved to see in real life, not a dream sequence, like Issa and her bump heads, because baby mamas and girlfriends bump heads. So it's like, either I don't want that bitch around, I don't want that lady around my child, or it's this or it's that. Like, I wanted to see more of the core story fleshed out. And I didn't get that every episode. And it could be the 30-minute runtime. I don't know. I just felt like there was a lot of fluff and a lot of stuff that didn't really matter this season, and there was so much to do. So every episode we're like, okay, how is this going to wrap up? I felt like even the whole Crenshaw sequence drug out for way too long when he wasn't even in this episode. Where was he? I don't like it. That just made me mad. We spent, again, this whole thing of her trying to make it work with him and that he's this big something. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. Like, again, when we saw the We Got Y'all or the I Got Y'all or the first project she worked in, we saw all of those characters who worked there and her trying to struggle to fit in with that. That was a whole season of stuff. And then we get a few interactions with her and this guy, and me and my friends have talked about this, but I'm like, okay, while that event didn't go exactly as planned, he still accomplished his goal. So I just didn't understand the choice to make him then attack her on social media. Like, I think the attack would have justified itself if the event didn't go well and all of his stuff was cut and he wasn't able to be authentically black in his own kind of way, but he did it anyway and they loved it. So I just was like, why is he so upset with her? Like, and then to do all of this stuff online, but then to come right back and be like, oh, okay, everything's cool. I just don't understand. And he's so fine, and y'all play him fine on screen. So I'm thinking like, yes, girl, we trying to see this sex scene. What's the tea? And then he didn't even come back. I'm upset about that. I'm upset about that. Where was he? So the season, maybe 2 episodes ago, there was this whole thing of her dreaming again, and I don't like dream sequences on a 30-minute show. Like, we don't have time for this. I want to see what's about to happen. I want to see the effects of the decisions and the choices that have been made and the interactions. And we got a lot of dream sequences this season, and there was so much to do. So I feel like we could have did away with all of the dream sequences. All of, even, like, I got the mirror talk thing where this is her insecure self speaking to her, like, in her voice in her head, and then at the end it's gone. But there was more of that to me than any other season. I would have loved to see the rap in the beginning, and then, baby, in the end, she's not there, because every second, I do know that filmmakers, like, everything that they choose to keep, because especially in a time where there was physical tape, like, we have to utilize this tape because it ain't an infinite amount. So whatever makes it to the screen, whatever makes it off the chopping block, it is very intentional. And a lot of these scenes did not feel intentional. I don't know what it was. And I think, too, a big mistake that Issa and Princess made was telling us that this was the finale. I wish that we just would have treated it like any other season. And she would have left it open-ended, almost in a Girlfriends kind of way, almost in a Sex and the City kind of way. Although Sex and the City had a great kind of finale, they still left it open enough to where if we want to pick these people up again, we can do that. I would have appreciated that instead of all of this hype around the finale, and it just is like thrown and rushed together. So this last episode, honey, they gave us 3 birthdays. 3 birthdays in 30 minutes, a death, and a wedding. What? I just was so confused. I was so confused. And then it didn't make sense that it went from Molly's birthday to Issa's birthday to Tiffany's birthday. And I'm like, well, when is this in the year? Are they the same day? Like, there wasn't a title card. But then we got a title card for Molly's wedding, which was, then it said 1 year later. So I'm like, so then when were these? And then I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I couldn't even catch my breath. I couldn't understand what was going on. I felt like the episode with Molly's mom going into the hospital felt like eternity of her being in the hospital and everybody dealing with that. And then she dies and we don't even get a second to process it. I don't like it. We don't even get a funeral. I wanted to see the funeral. I wanted to see how they was going to show up to the funeral and support her. We didn't even get a second with that. I don't like it. I would have rather, again, her been sick and we move on to other pieces and then a funeral, as opposed to her being in the hospital with the stroke and if she's going to come out. Like, you can't spend a whole episode on that and then give us 5 minutes of a death and her crying. And kudos to Yvonne Orji. She's an excellent actress. I think she's a heavy hitter. She was so beautiful every season, but this season, especially with the short hair, she felt the most confident. Shout out to Shiona. Shiona said, I'm going balls to the wall. This is the finale. I don't care if Issa got this kind of money. Like, the fashions were so bomb. Just bomb all around. The pajama party was probably by far one of my favorites. Their pajamas, to me, she did a very great job of keeping them individuals, but still keeping them feminine and edgy and cool. And it was like Shiona and Melina together, magic. But I don't like it. We had a whole season of Molly going back and forth with Dro, and a whole season of that, and you're going to tell me now that she's been proposed to and she only had a date in the broom closet and a piece of a retreat? Like, no, I don't like it. It does, like, my brain there, like I said, this episode, so much happened and there wasn't even a second to, like, breathe and accept it. And, like, I just was like, wait, what's happening now? Now we're at Molly's? Wait, who? What day is this? I'm like, so their birthdays all on the same day? Like, it did not. And my brain was like, cannot compute. I didn't like it. Like, when the wedding came, I didn't have any feelings about it. I didn't have any feelings about it. We learned so much about her boyfriend last season. We learned about his parents and what type of family he comes from and how he likes to date and how he likes to do this. I don't know anything about Torian. I don't know anything about him. So I don't care about him, and I don't care about them being married. I'm upset. Again, and I just wish this just would have picked up where last season left off, and it would have been the same pace as all of the other seasons. And again, because of COVID, I want to say even between season 3 and season 4, we had to wait like 2 years, and it was cool. Like, I don't think people were upset about that. So if we would have had to wait indefinitely, I think we would have waited indefinitely. Whatever y'all had to give us, we would have taken it gladly. But I do not accept this. I want to send it back to the writing room and say, no, I don't accept it. I don't accept it. Like, my notes say the pacing is awful. I hate it. I hated it. When they got to that wedding, I'm like, no, y'all not. No, you're not. Like, I want to see the whole process of her picking out a dress without her mom. I want to see the planning process without her mom. Her being type A and trying, like, and her girls around her in the bridesmaid selection process. Like, there's so many, there was so much there. And even if Issa maybe didn't want to write it, like, hand it off to somebody else and see if that works, and maybe just still act and you still aren't tied down to it. And I will say the biggest thing for me that is just a big gaping hole for me is Kelly. I really sat and thought this season, like, I don't know anything about Kelly. At this point, she almost like Tommy with a million jobs, because I feel like her job is whatever. But to me, Kelly carries the show. She carries the show every time she's on the screen. Not only is she a gorgeous woman, but she is funny. She is the comic relief, and yet she's underwritten and not fleshed out. Like, I'm like, I don't know anything about this lady. I don't know anything about her family life. I would have loved to see her apartment. I would have loved to see her have something in her apartment. That she to me, Kelly looks like she may have a cat that she cusses out all the time or something. Or, like, I don't think she's a dog person. I would have loved to see Kelly more in her life. I get that she's a supporting role, but she was so underwritten because I don't know anything about her. And she falls into the big girl trope of the big funny black girl, you know? I don't like that, because I think she's more than that. And I think she deserved more than that. I know she wore a lot of hats in terms of her being a director as well and a co-producer. I think her name is Natasha Rothwell. She's amazing. She's super talented. She was also on The White Lotus on HBO, which was a great show. I say go watch it. But yeah, I'm just like, what a big miss and an opportunity. Maybe she'll get her own spinoff, but I want to know more about her. And again, to see her so so uncouth and crass, but funny and beautiful in whatever she was, and her dating small escapades, and it would just be more her seeing somebody across the room and drinking and saying something funny. And now she's pregnant with a baby. I didn't feel anything. Like, when you pile all of this stuff on top, we can't even immerse ourselves into the story and feel nothing. Like, I didn't feel anything. I just was like, huh? Again, Tiffany sending her to Denver is cool, but they really explored last season her battle and struggle with postpartum depression. At one point, the season before that, it felt like they were trying to say maybe she cheated and we didn't know who the daddy was gonna be, because there was this whole thing of her hiding and getting text messages and something weird. Again, she was very underdeveloped, another underdeveloped character, another stereotype, you know, stereotypical AKA girl. And we saw a few moments, but it wasn't enough for me to care about what's going on with them. And I feel like if you're just going to throw us little breadcrumbs, I'd rather not have anything. And again, there was so much to explore with Issa and Molly, with them together, with them separately in their lives. I just felt like we spent a lot of time on nothing. Oh man, okay. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. Like I said, Issa, kudos to you. Thank you for giving us what you gave us. I think as a creative myself, it is important to explore constructive criticism. I do believe Issa is going to do great things. I know she's working on other shows, and I think her role is more to be more behind and in the creating space and opportunities for other people to create. So for that and that alone, she won. I mean, she paid, she looked good, she married. So Issa Rae won, but Issa D, I mean, we seen her little red power suit, but and then we see this reconciliation in this blended family, but I just don't buy it. Like, I would have loved to even see Condola walk into the scene or something, and it's like, hey girl, we all cool and we working it out. But not in that episode. Not in that episode. And I didn't get enough moments of Issa and Lawrence to care. I didn't. I saw, you know, and I think the episode with Lawrence and his exploration of what is fatherhood and what does it mean and ego, that was a great episode. But I still wanted to see more of how that plays into the bigger story. And I just didn't get that. This season, maybe because of COVID, it felt like separate moments. And maybe they had to get creative with how they filmed that. But I don't believe this did the greater story any justice. And I'm still left with weird feelings, not good feelings. So that's my review on Insecure. Will I go back and rewatch this? Probably not. From the beginning, probably not. Yeah, I will say Molly's white pajamas was lit. Again, a lot of the outfits, I was like, screenshot. Let me go find it. Let me go try to recreate that. But in terms of the bigger story, I give it a C-. I guess overall, though, for what it contributed to the culture, A+++++++. Like, she put the culture on, and it became a cultural phenomenon. So that's where it's a mixed bag for me. But I left this season not. Every episode has been consistently like, Only one episode I was like, oh, that made me feel good, and that was the slumber party episode. I felt good. It gave me Waiting to Exhale vibes, you know, when they was at the bonfire and then coming home. It really felt like Waiting to Exhale. Now I think about it, and then, you know, they going back and forth like, call John. It's me, you know, like it felt like that. So in that scene, you know, it took me back to that. But overall, I could have did without the Nathan plot line, and I would have wanted to see more of Condola, Issa, and Lawrence. I would have wanted to see from the very beginning Torian and Molly exploring their thing. I would have loved to see the ups and the downs and the triumph. But all we saw, it was like very this. You know, for you, how do you go from hating someone to married in 1-2 episodes? Yvonne Orji, I believe this is only the beginning. She's a powerhouse. I loved, like, I saw her live. We went to see Chris Rock when he came, and she had us, the entire theater, in tears. That girl is funny. Her energy seems good. So I'm happy for all of them. Am I happy for myself and these? We'll figure it out. We'll find a new show. But that's it. That's all I got. That was my review of Insecure Season 5. See y'all later. Bye.